invited to a tabletop fire simulation where members of the emergency operations team tested their reaction plans in case of a dual natural disaster. Take a look.
As we know, COVID-19 caught us off guard. We encountered a lot of surprises. We are exercising our continuity of operation plans with different departments within the city, and we need to make sure that resources and functions are still available, so all of the departments need to be able to adapt to an additional event like a brush fire.
What we want here is we want a shared understanding of what it is we're doing as a city to provide protective measures to our employees as we maintain our essential functions and as we respond to an emerging incident, right? What we want to do and really want to focus on this tabletop is what are our gaps and what are the issues that we can identify, what it is that our EOC will look like as we respond to two incidents simultaneously, an incident within an incident.
The first thing we would do is send out a wireless emergency alert through Notify LA. If you aren't registered for Notify LA, you can go ahead and register at emergency.lacity.org.
Every department is activated at a certain level doing certain things. Right now, resources are marshaled throughout the entire city, and we're outsourcing to get additional needs, primarily PPE.
The question was posed, what's our capability, particularly in the mass care arena, to deal with a concurrent secondary event? With everything going on, even just within the mass care branch, how would we be able to respond to a secondary event? Are we capable of handling that? I think the answer is yes, but this exercise here today will not only be helpful for the EOC responders, but it will help to reassure the council and our city leadership that we're able of handling more than one incident at a time.
Hi everybody, my name is Ralph Terrazas, Fire Chief of Los Angeles City Fire Department. I'm here today to shine a light on our unsung heroes who are working tirelessly behind the scenes at our Supply and Maintenance Division, under the command of Assistant Chief Wade White. Our men and women there, both civilian and sworn, have been working around the clock to ensure our firefighters have everything necessary to battle the coronavirus pandemic. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to say thank you to the men and women at our Supply and Maintenance Division.
Around March 5th, we really stepped things up here at the Supply and Maintenance Division. We were buying up everything we could to start getting a stockpile here, knowing that this thing was going to take off. As far as our inventory, what we had in stock for masks, gowns, gloves, glasses, and all those items that we've been using quite a bit of over the last couple months. We figured that we were going to need to get more supplies out to the field, so I brought in a team and they established a new supply ordering system as well as a supply chain distribution system. Supplies will come from a vendor, they'll get delivered here. Our staff will unpackage them, inventory them, put them in a master inventory system. We're utilizing a new spreadsheet for that. And then we take the order requests that are coming in from the various battalions, and then we build pallets. And then we label those pallets, and the pallets are shipped out to the Geo Bureau drop points, and then the battalion chief can pick those supplies up and distribute them throughout their battalion. The staff here has been working around the clock. We've been here 7 days a week. A group of about 6 people here at Supply and Maintenance Division are packaging the supplies. And then there's a group, which is a ground support unit, that takes the supplies and they transport them out to the field. We track the burn rate. We're tracking every mask, every glove, every gown. So we know what you're using out there. We're comparing it to EPCR data that comes in when you're checking the boxes on the EPCR. So keep doing what you're doing. We have figured out how many days we can survive on the supplies that we have in place, and we're fine. We're doing good. And we're going to continue here at Supply and Maintenance Division to purchase supplies to make sure that you have enough for the field.
check out the AILA Book Club. The Performing Arts Center of LA goes Facebook Live, and the Geffen Playhouse launches their new Stay House. All this up next on Virtual Things to Do.
The AILA community is starting a book club. Each month, you all will pick a book to read or listen to on Audible, then discuss it on the last Sunday over Zoom. This is a brand new virtual book club, and they need your help to make it special. For the first meeting on the 31st, they will discuss format and decide on a book to read in June. Browse their new reading list and add your recommendations so you all can discuss it on Sunday. Visit joinai.la/book-club. Check out the Music Center Performing Arts Center for the 32nd Annual Music Center Spotlight Grand Finale online. This virtual celebration will feature the 2020 Grand Prize finalists' performances. Much more than a competition, Spotlight is a scholarship and arts training program which empowers students by emphasizing preparation and perseverance. The Music Center's 2020 Spotlight Grand Finale online happens Saturday, May 31st. For more information, please visit musiccenter.org. The Geffen Playhouse would like to welcome you to the new Geffen Stay House. The notable West LA theater space will be sharing exclusive original content every Wednesday from some of their wonderful Geffen alumni and favorite theater artists. The folks at the Geffen will keep them coming until the theater doors are open to welcome you back. Check out the Geffen Stay House by visiting geffenplayhouse.org/stayhouse. And that's a look at some virtual things to do.
I'm here on 41st and Avalon at the Kedron Community Health Center. I've just taken my COVID-19 test, and I want to encourage you to do the same. Testing is free here at the Kedron Center. All you have to do is sign up or walk in. The test is easy and painless. Instructions are very clear. As I said, there is no charge. Everyone is entitled. This is a pandemic that we must win. We want you to survive, be a positive force in our community. Get your free COVID-19 test. It's free, it's painless, and it can save your life.
Here at Channel 35, we stay committed to bringing you the best information possible during the COVID-19 outbreak. Remember that you can sign up with Notify LA to receive emergency alerts. To sign up, just text your zip code to 888-777. You can also find reliable information about the resources available from the City of Los Angeles at these websites: publichealth.lacounty.gov, coronavirus.lacity.org, or at emergency.lacity.org. That's it for this edition. I'm Saida Pagan. From all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. See you next time for more LA This Week.
few of you are having some technical difficulties logging on.
Good morning and welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Tuesday, May 26. I'm Nuri Martinez, the President of the City Council. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield present.
Bonin.
Bonin present.
Buscaino.
Present.
Cedillo. Harris Dawson. Weezer absent. Correct.
Cedillo present.
Oh. Correct. Krikorian.
Here.
Lee.
Present.
Martinez.
Present.
O'Farrell.
Present.
Price.
Present.
Rodriguez. Here. Rue.
Present.
Weston.
Here. Harris Dawson present. Gil Cedillo present.
$13 members and a quorum, Madam President.
First order of business.
Approval the May 2020 minutes.
Mr. Lee moves and Mr. Corretz seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Ms. Rodriguez moves and Mr. Price seconds. Next.
Today is Tuesday and time for the flag salute.
Mr. Corretz, would you please lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
Facing the flag of our nation and mindful of the values that it represents, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Koretz, are you having trouble with your video? Can you hear us? Mr. Koretz? All right, let's check his video just to make sure that he's not, image isn't frozen. Froze, okay. Oh, there, okay, maybe his audio's not working. Let's check on that. Okay, members, let's go ahead and go through our agenda. Madam Clerk?
Madam President.
Rachel?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koretz. Just wanted to make sure your audio was
Rachel
working.
Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Okay,
Madam-
Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and run through the agenda.
Madam President, would council like all items to go forthwith today?
Without objection, that will be the order.
I
What's
think I
next?
I don't know where it went, but I think I just saw
Items
something
1
from
through
Ruth that
Madam Clerk,
said,
hold on
I
for
think
just a
your
second.
audio isn't
Mr.
working.
Koretz, can you mute yourself now? Thank you.
Can't make it.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Items 1 through 7 are items noticed for public hearing. Item 8 is an item for which public hearing has been held. Items 9 through 25 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. Madam Clerk, go ahead and call the roll. Members, if you want to hear any of these items specials or do you have an amending motion, please state so when your name is called. Go ahead, call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Bloomfield, in terms of specials, item 14 for an amendment.
You state your amendment at this time, please.
Sure. It's a minor amendment, but I want to amend my motion to request the city attorney to increase the penalty to the maximum extent possible for infractions, which is $250 for discarding, littering, disposing PPE into the streets, public right-of-way during the COVID-19 pandemic, sunsetting after the state of emergency concludes. The amendment's needed because in the report back, sanitation, it was unclear. That it looked like they were asking for additional funds, and I don't think we should be asking for additional funds during this economic crisis. This really was meant to be about making sure that the penalty for discarding what you believe to be contaminated materials, PPE, to have a stronger penalty. So that's the amendment.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Buscaino. Next member.
Bonin.
Yes, one special item 18 for a technical amendment. It's a TEFRA motion, and the attached resolution had some errors in it, so it's substituting the original resolution for the correct one.
Can you go ahead and second that, Mr. Bonin?
Thank you.
And any others?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Buscaino.
None for me, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Cedillo.
None, thank you.
Harris Dawson.
None, thank you.
Koretz.
People talking? Now you're unmuted. But we can't hear anything.
I'm unmuted, but I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Mr. Koretz, do you have any amendments or specials, sir?
Seems like we're having technical difficulties with Mr. Koretz. Let's move on to the next member. We'll come back to him.
Krikorian,
Nothing for me, thank you.
Lee,
No specials.
Martinez,
None for me, thank you.
O'Farrell,
No specials, thank you.
Price,
Specials, thank you.
Rodriguez,
No specials.
Rue,
No specials.
Wesson. Councilmember Wesson,
No specials.
thank you. Back to Councilmember Koretz. Councilmember Koretz, do you have any specials or amendments, sir?
Tell them we can't hear anything. You're on mute. Yeah, but we cannot hear anything. Send them muted.
Councilmember Koretz, you are not on mute. Do you have any specials or amendments, sir?
Okay, let's move on to public comment. It just seems like we're having technical problems with Mr. Koretz's computer. Madam Clerk, can you go ahead and read the call-in information that was provided for this morning's agenda?
Yes, Madam President. As indicated on the agenda, members of the public wishing to offer public comment should call area code 669-900-6833 and use meeting ID number 459-499-150 and then press the pound sign. Then press pound again when prompted for participant ID. Let me repeat. Call area code 669-900-6833 and use meeting ID number 459-499-150 and then press pound again when prompted for participant ID.
Madam President, would you like me to read the instructions to the speakers calling in?
Sure, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. To members of the public calling in, when it is your turn to speak, please state which of the agenda items you would like to speak on. You have 1 minute per item to speak, up to 3 minutes total, and if you wish, 1 minute for general public comment. We will tell you when your time is up. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. Our goal is to get through as many speakers as we can. If you are not speaking on topic, or if we cannot tell whether you're speaking on an agenda item, you will get one brief warning from me or the President. If you do not immediately get clearly on topic or again stray off topic, the President will cut you off and you will forfeit the rest of your speaking time, and we will move on to the next speaker. We will take 60 minutes total of public comment. Finally, for members of the public calling in to speak, as soon as you hear someone address you, you are live in the council meeting. If you are also listening to the council meeting on your computer, channel 35, or other devices, please immediately turn down the volume on those devices. There is a several-second time lag between the live meeting and the broadcast on those devices. Once you're live in the meeting, it will cause confusion if you continue to listen on your other devices. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can we try Mr. Koretz one more time? or we can get a hold of his staff. I just need to find out if he's going to introduce any specials or amending motions.
Councilmember Koretz, do you have any specials or amendments, sir?
Okay, we still can't hear him. All right, so let's just move on to to public comment. Let's go ahead and take the first speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Good morning, you fat fucking cunt, strip and fumble. All items, please.
You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
That's good. Now, let's get to the motions. Street lighting. CD3. Number 1, no. Number 2, CD14. I don't think there's a city councilman left. I think he's in federal prison. No on number 2 to the jailbird, Jose Luisa. Number 3, CD2. Uh-oh. No! Number 4. Oh, CD14 again. No to the federal felon. Number 5, CD6. Yes, Van Nuys, Kittredge and Van Nuys. Thank you, Mommy Nay. The drug dealers will not go away. Good job. Number 6, CD8. Sleazy, Marqueezy, Weezy, Harris, Dawson, the Fern. No, it's a scam. Number 7, jailbird amendment, Weezer, no. Let's see here. Number 8. Oh, you put that in committee. I can't talk on that. Is that right, Princess Marble? Yes, that's correct. Okay, moving along. Number 9. No. Number 10. No. Number 11. No. Number 12. An ordinance to protect sensitive habitat areas. Yes, I support it. This is Bonnin's dream, a sensitive habitat area where you can go privately and duck in the ass in the 11th district, yes. Number 13, Gilson Deal's doing a wonderful job. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 landlords freed from fines, intimidation, and having to pay off the city's building inspector. Gilson Deal, the only member of the city council who probably won't be indicted. Keep up the good work, Big G. Moving right along, we have Paul Koretz, who doesn't know how to use a computer. No, on number 16. Piss asshole place to Orson Bean Way. No, I like the old name, Piss Ass Place. Conflicts of interest by Paul Krikorian. Suspended bar license.
Okay, your time is up.
No.
Your time
Should
is
it
up.
be opposed? No.
Thank you.
And we get to number 18.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Stevie. I'd like to speak on items number 20, 25, and general public comments.
Okay, you have 2 minutes and 1 minute for general public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, starting with 20 and 25, these are both forms of rent relief, and I'm asking City Council to vote to cancel rent, not to provide rent relief. Rent relief puts the burden on the tenants to apply. It will exclude tenants based on documentation, on language, on access. It will lead to source of income discrimination for folks who are maybe street vendors or who otherwise could fear potentially deportation, for example, for having to report their source of income. Budgets are eventually going to dry up, which means that the assistance is basically a lottery. It offers only partial payments. It basically turns tenants into pass-throughs, meaning that the benefits go directly to the landlord rather than to folks who are actually struggling to put food on their tables in the middle of a pandemic. It makes the public pay landlords to bail them out of this when that relief needs to be going directly to everyday people. It blocks the possibility of collective bargaining to lower costs, which keeps our rent sky high. We already have a housing crisis in this city. And it is basically charity instead of justice. We need something that is tenant driven, that is universal, that does not put the burden onto tenants, that does not put the burden onto people who have to fill out all kinds of forms and perhaps speak English as a second language. We need full rent and mortgage cancellation, not rent relief. We need to hold a budget committee meeting this week to review and reject the mayor's proposed budget. I listened to over 2 hours of comments last week on 2 separate days from constituents all over the city who are opposed to this budget proposal, which would allocate more than half of our city's resources to law enforcement. As a reminder, LAPD is the deadliest police force in the nation. LAPD is the deadliest police force in the nation. The Sheriff's Department already has a budget of more than $3 billion. We need to reject this budget. And if the City Council does nothing, then it's my understanding the budget will pass automatically on June 1st. We will still hold you accountable for that. You need to take action. There needs to be a budget committee meeting this week. And we need a people's budget that funds housing, that funds rent cancellation, that funds social services, that gives resources to students who are now trying to do distance learning. We do not need to give $5.3 billion to the deadliest police force in the entire nation. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Melina Abdullah, and I'd like to speak on general public comment.
Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
Great, thank you for taking our comments. We want to uplift People's Budget LA that keeps calling in, tweeting, emailing, and asking you all to listen to the voices of the people. The mayor's budget proposal, which attempts to give over 54% of the city's general fund to police, is simply unacceptable. We had more than 3,000 folks engage yesterday in an online forum that demands that you center care, not cops. We want you to have a budget committee meeting and an emergency meeting to reject the mayor's budget and adopt a people's budget that, again, centers care, not cops. We need housing, we need health care, we need good jobs. We don't need more police terrorizing our communities.
Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, my name is Adam Smith, and I'd like to offer some general public comments.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Hurry, 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 hurry. I'm begging of you for us to take a stand. Hurry, 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 hurry. Please don't pass it just because you can. They take their guns and their batons, their bowler wraps and take the prongs and use them on the black, brown, and poor. You have to pay to tell Paul K to call a subcommittee meeting today and pass a budget for all, not just police. So hurry, 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 hurry. I'm begging of you for us to take a stand. Hurry, 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 hurry. Please don't pass it just because you can. What up,
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Your time is up. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
My name is Lupe Sanchez, member of the LA Tenants Union, and I'd like to give general public comment.
You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Krikorian, as chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee, you have the power to adopt the people's budget, and you welcome feedback on ways to fix our budget, so here it goes. Last week, you heard from Angelenos about the absurdity of Mayor Garcetti's budget. Today, I urge you to meet with your committee this Thursday to amend that budget and invest in services your constituents need. Angelenos, especially black and brown folks, don't need increased over-policing and criminalization. I was on the ground when LAPD did nothing to stop an illegal eviction in South Central. And as a longtime resident of Council District 8, I've seen firsthand the violence that LAPD brings to our most vulnerable and disenfranchised communities. The nature of police work hasn't evolved. LA City Council has failed Angelenos. Instead of funding a racist and murderous police state, why not invest in trained professionals that are actually qualified as therapists, drug treatment workers, and EMTs? Martinez, we need LA City Council to meet this Friday and fund Care Not Cops now because our lives depend on it.
Your time is up. Thanks. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Owana. I'd like to give general public comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Hi, I am calling to ask that the Budget Committee hold an emergency meeting this week and that City Council hold a meeting this week to vote and reject on the mayor's budget. We are asking for a budget that centers care, not cops. The people have overwhelmingly voiced their demands over the past few days. We will not stop voicing our demands. I'd like to echo the comments of the last caller. LAPD actively harms communities. They are not trained. They are not equipped to deal with the vast public health crisis. They are actively inflicting harm. They are a terrorizing surveillance police force, and they need to be defunded. We will continue to hold you accountable. Listen to the people. Please do the right thing. Please center care, not cops. That's all. That's all.
Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Gina Viola, and I'd like to speak on item number 23 and general public comment, please.
Okay, you have 1 minute for each. Go ahead.
Thank you. So item 23 is a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest for the LAPD. This is identical to an item number that was on last week's budget for $50,000. So even though the LAPD gets 54% of the city's budget, we are still having to further incentivize them with city tax dollars to even solve crimes. The LAPD doesn't protect us, they don't solve crimes, and yet you continue to increase their budget and offer these kinds of incentives. And I've seen this kind of incentive actually offered by the county as well. So we have two arms of government here in Los Angeles that continue to incentivize the public financially, and then that gets stuck to the taxpayers. That's not what the people want, not at all. For my general comment, why is the budget not on the agenda today? I am outraged by that. Our understanding is that this budget will be adopted on June 1st. I called your office, Ms. Martinez, this morning, and I was told that the Budget Committee meeting isn't going to meet until June 8th. Isn't that after the budget gets adopted on June 1st? I hope I got the correct information this morning when I was told that the budget would not be adopted on June 1st. The budget should be on the agenda every single day this week. We should be talking about this every single day. Everything we add police to in this city gets worse. Worse. Why are you trying to solve an economic health crisis by adding police? We use police for mental health crisis, and mentally ill people end up dead or filling up our overcrowded jails, a place where they can't possibly get well. You add police to deal with our houseless population, and I don't need to tell anyone here what a huge disaster that is now. Crime is down. We do not need more police. It is imperative that you defund the LAPD and put those monies into healthcare, housing, and education.
Thank you.
It's atrocious how much more a police...
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Jacob Wucher, and I'd like to speak on items 13, 20, and general public comment, and I was hoping I could do general public comment to start.
You can start with your two items. You have 2 minutes, and then your general public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, 13, I'll keep this quick. This is about an HSID program called REAP. I just want to point out that HSID is already extremely hard to work with. Like, I'm a tenant organizer. We try to get in touch with HSID all the time, and they're generally super unresponsive and not very helpful. And I think a big part of that is because they're understaffed, and now the budget is going to cut HSID by even more. And HSID is one of the main agencies right now helping to implement the eviction protections that are in place that you guys passed, but you're simultaneously cutting their budget. I mean, assuming that you're going to mayor's budget, you're simultaneously cutting HSID's budget as you're relying on them to keep people in their homes. Meanwhile, you're funding the LAPD to a ridiculous degree. So I just want to note that HSID is already understaffed and extremely difficult to work with. And the budget that you're going to let be approved through a cowardly non-vote is going to cut HSID's budget even more. The second item is item 20, which is about using money, like a tiny amount of money, $100,000, for rent relief and for other help to people. And like the person who called in earlier said, this would not be necessary if you just canceled rents. There are various legal analyses arguing that you can cancel rents, although you choose to be extremely cautious based on the city attorney's recommendation, but you don't choose to be extremely cautious when it comes to terrorizing the unhoused people in the city. The city faces lawsuits over and over and over again because you people insist on enforcing laws that are unconstitutional, that terrorize unhoused people, that throw away their property, and that's something the city is willing to go to court over, but protecting tenants is not something that you're willing to go to court over. So then we get these motions that give $100,000 for rent relief in a city of 4 million people. It does nothing. You are failing tenants in the city.
Go ahead and
by
move on to
refusing
your general
cancel
public
rent.
comment now.
My general public comment is about the budget. I cannot believe that after all the people who called in over the last, extremely clear how much we're outraged about the money that's going to LAPD, you are not holding a budget committee meeting this week. You're not even putting it on the agenda for the broader city. You are going to be silent and let Mayor Garcetti's police state budget pass without even taking a vote. You people are cowards. Nuri Martinez, you tweeted a couple weeks ago about systemic racism and how systemic racism is destroying our city. And you're absolutely right. And then you're going to turn around and let this budget pass that gives over 54% of the general revenues to the police? I mean, Nuri, I don't know how you sleep at night. You're such a hypocrite talking about systemic racism and then cutting things like HSID that helps poor people who are disproportionately black and Latinx. And then you're going to fund the LAPD to $3.15 billion. And they have a terrible history and present of terrorizing, especially black people in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Butcher. Your time
yeah,
is
you
up.
people.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Yeah, Rob Kwan, I'd like to speak on general public comment.
Go ahead, Rob. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Normally our budget chair acts like the adult in the room offering dutiful fiscal caution, but like the rest of you, that goes out the window with LAPD. Last year, we pillaged our highly touted reserve funds to cover LAPD salary hike. And this budget is principally a product of a corrupted system, not COVID. Our elected officials are lapdogs for law enforcement, obedient and cowering in fear of Craig and the PPL, threatening your political futures on the campaign trail. Just to offer a contrast, what's at stake? I have to offer my profound disappointment in council members Harris, Dawson, and Wesson. It's bad enough that they're unwilling to speak up about LAPD, but they introduced multiple motions last week to cut the Justice Fund allocation by nearly a quarter to fund pet projects. They want to balance our budget on the backs of immigrants facing deportation, and to do what? To pay for fucking movies in the park. To pay for movies in the fucking park. In this city hall, Blue Lives Matter most. They are the untouchables.
Thanks, Rob. Your time
don't
is
even
up.
get a whisper of comment from you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
T, general public comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
LA City Council, we need you to fund services, not police. You absolutely need to have that committee meeting. And people need quality, affordable housing, quality health care, healthy food resources and food security, education, jobs, better conditions and opportunities in our communities. Not more policing where black people, brown and indigenous people are regularly targeted, harassed, jailed, and killed. We need you to put the money into our communities that are underserved and marginalized. Not in police that already receive over $1 billion. That's 53% of the city's general fund to terrorize our communities. We absolutely need to block this budget and put the money into the communities, not more police. And I also urge you to take a look at the list of demands that BLM-LA has put forth at blmla.org. We need a people's budget. Thank you. That concludes my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Janet Vasquez, and I'm calling about the general public comment.
Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
I don't believe that LAPD deserves over 50% of our general fund at a time when crime has been going down and communities desperately need public services. Our communities really don't need LAPD terrorizing our community over whatever excuse they find. Black and brown people are not safe with them. We need more housing, healthcare, and education. We're calling on you to adopt the people's budget that funds care, not cost.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hello, yes, my name is Youssef, and I'd like to speak on items 20 and 25.
Okay, you have 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, and public comment as well. Dear council members, my name is Youssef. I'm a member of the LA Tenants Union, and I live in District 1. I demand that you defund the LAPD and instead fund an eminent domain purchase of the Hillside Villas apartments and protect the Hillside Villas Tenants Association from displacement. With that, I'd like to share a song I wrote last month with you guys called "Housing is a Human Right." And
Sir, I need you to speak to the items you want to speak on today. The 2 items you asked to speak on. Yeah, and then your general public comment.
Yes, so this is in regards to item 20.
So this is not a time for a multimedia presentation. Please, if you want to address this orally, that's fine. Otherwise, we're going to cut off your time. Speaker? Okay, now, Madam President, I suggest we move on to the next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Rebecca, and I live in Koreatown. I'd like to speak on public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
I'm asking the City Council to vote against the proposed budget scheduled for the next City Council meeting and vote instead for a budget that reflects the priorities and needs of Angelenos. I would like to see that the police budget is defunded. That's absolutely unnecessary and evil. We want a budget that reflects our priorities and needs. We want more services for unhoused Angelenos, including housing in the thousands of empty hotel rooms throughout the city. That was a promise that was made at the start of the COVID crisis, and we haven't seen much move on that. We'd like to see more mental health services, rent, or cancel the rent. There are more than 55% of Angelenos who are currently unemployed. Cancel rent and mortgage. We want to see more funding for public schools and resources to ensure all students can continue learning during these uncertain times. We don't need Los Angeles to prioritize, or we need Los Angeles to prioritize housing, health services, food programs, and other services, not police officers.
Thank you. Your time is up.
That's the end of my comments.
Thank you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hello, my name is Lauren Gutierrez. I live in City Council District 4, and I'd like to give general public comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm calling to support the message of People's Budget LA, and I'm asking that you please put the budget on the agenda as an official item. I'd also like to ask that the Budget and Finance Committee meet this week to review and reject the mayor's proposed budget and adopt a people's budget instead. It's not acceptable that 54% of the budget in the way of billions of dollars have been proposed for the LAPD, especially at a time when crime is down, and a fraction of this amount is suggested for initiatives that actually serve our community. We need our budget to prioritize affordable housing, especially in the midst of a housing crisis, and to care for rather than to criminalize people experiencing homelessness. That's the end of my comment. Thank you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, yes, this is Richie Serjanko from Sunrise Movement LA and People's City Council. I would like to speak on 23 and general public comment, please.
Okay, you have 1 minute for each. Go ahead.
Great. So 23 was about, offering a reward to help law enforcement. I just want all listeners to know the reason why LAPD is going to get so much of the general fund is because when evictions start happening in September,
So, Speaker, this
they're
seems
going
pretty
to
far
need-
removed from the issue of a reward. Maybe you want to just move on to general public comment?
Okay, I love the snapback. I really appreciate the attitude coming from City Council, but I'll move on to general public comment now.
Thank you, Speaker.
Yes, and just so everyone knows, everyone listening, LA City Council is completely ready to allow the mayor to do absolutely nothing on the budget and wait till June 1st until the budget goes into effect on June 1st. It's an absolute joke. What do you guys even do? People call in over and over and over again, please do your job, and yet you don't do your job. I don't get it. City Council is ready to let this pass on June 1st and not do a damn thing. What City Council needs to do, Paul Krikorian, you and the Budget Committee need to hold a meeting this week. How is the budget not even on the agenda to talk about today? June 1st is coming up and you guys aren't even going to talk. You have people calling in last week over and over again for an hour and a half last Wednesday and another half hour on Thursday, and you're not even going to have the budget on the agenda today? What do you guys even do for a job? Like nothing at all. People are just so upset over and over again. Like, how do you guys live with yourself?
Thank you,
Honestly,
sir.
how do you live with yourself?
Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Cool. Hi, my name is Lydia. I was hoping to speak on items 2025 and general public comment.
Okay, you have 2 minutes for your items and 1 minute for your general public comment. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm a member of LA Tenants Union. I'm also a student at UCLA School of Law. First I want to talk about, 20 and 25. I'm combining them because they're both looking at giving rental relief using part of our city's housing budget. My concern with them is that we will not be able to help everyone who needs rental assistance using the housing budget. Just if we were to give it to everyone who needed it, or even in part, we would absolutely not have enough. This is why we really need to cancel rent and, if anything, have a program that landlords can apply to instead. I assume most of you know about the term bureaucratic disentitlement. This applies to when people are hypothetically given the option to some sort of relief, but it is so hard to get that relief because of the amount of work it takes to apply that they effectively don't have that option at all. And I worry that's what you would be doing if you force tenants to apply for that kind of relief. And it may seem like it's opaque, but it actually, I think, would be very transparent to the people of LA. I think instead landlords should have to apply for relief. This will more effectively keep people in their homes because it will automatically apply the cancellation of rent to tenants and then put the burden a little bit more on landlords. Usually this might not be as much of an issue, but as you know, in California, this is not your fault, but we have vacancy decontrol. This incentivizes landlords to push out long-term tenants. So anything that makes that more possible, including any form of not canceling rent, will lead to mass evictions across the city. It creates a huge incentive for landlords to push out tenants. And I just want to end by saying on this, the California Association of Realtors has spent a long time arguing that housing is not a public utility. It doesn't have to be like that. housing can be seen as a public utility. So it's our laws that shape what housing is. And we can decide that housing is a human right. Housing is something that landlords have.
Okay, do you want to move on to your general public comment?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for letting me know. So for my general public comment, I mostly just want to list up the People's Budget LA. I am joining those who are concerned that it will pass automatically if you all don't act on it, and we will see that, and I think it'll look worse than maybe you guys realize. I also just want to say quickly, this is for President Nuri Martinez. I know that you're in sort of a tough situation since you're the only one we can see on the screening, but it's really clear that you're not paying attention. You have people coming up to talk to you, you're signing forms. I have empathy that's hard to hear people speak at you, just like for 30 minutes or whatever, but it really hurts our confidence in you to feel like you're not listening to us. I feel like you guys all call in and act like we're just trying to annoy you, but we really do this because we care deeply about the citizens of Los Angeles. We call in out of love, and I hope that you know that even when we are feeling anger, it's because of our deep love for our neighbors, and I hope that you listen to us and try and do your best to make it feel like we're heard. Thank you for letting me speak. Have a good day.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
This is Joseph Williams. I want to speak to general public comment.
Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
So I'm calling to demand that the Budget Committee, the Budget and Finance Committee, meet this week to talk about the mayor's budget proposal and refuse the mayor's budget proposal, which would give over 50% an increase, right, of the city's general fund to LAPD. We know that LAPD continues to brutalize folks. We know that we saw videos of folks being brutalized in Jesse Owens Park. We've seen videos recently of folks being brutalized in Boyle Heights in East LA. We know that LAPD continues to get away with murder and abuse of our folks, and that needs to end. The city council allowing this to go unchallenged, allowing the mayor's budget to go unchallenged is extremely cowardly and shows that you don't represent the people of the city of Los Angeles. We have thousands and thousands of homeless folks, houseless folks. We have thousands of folks who are struggling, losing their jobs, losing income because of this crisis. We have folks without mental health support. We have folks without health care, and you all are continuing to allow LAPD to take over half of the resources coming from our tax dollars. That's unconscionable.
Your time is up.
That's unacceptable, and you all need to change that and pass and adopt
your time is up.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
General public comment. You stole my 1 minute, Mommy. Can I have my general, please? Sneaky little strap-on fobble. I get my 1 minute in general. That's what Mr. Cedillo said. Hello?
Hello, you have a minute. Please begin.
Oh, thank you, Your Majesty. So now we have the letter from Mr. Wazor's office exposed. All I can say is, get your ass back to work, Wazor. Don't listen to them. They can't deny you your right to speak. Get back to work. Represent the 14th District. The feds, they'll do their thing. Don't listen to Mommy. Mommy Nuri. Strap-on Fable wrote that letter and forced Nuri Martinez to sign it. She really wants you back. She loves you. We all love you. Bring back Mr. Windsor.
Your time is up. Thank you. Next speaker.
Windsor.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Yes, my name's Akili, and I'd like to speak on public comment. And I'm calling to support the CARE, not COPS. This budget that is being proposed is absurd, and worst of all, there's no rationale for it. By all indications, crime is down. By all indications, our communities are much more in line. This is not the kind of budget that the people of Los Angeles want. We want a people-centered budget, not a police-centered budget. This is completely unnecessary. This is completely unwarranted. This is completely against all human values. We want care, not cops. Thank you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Johnson. I live in District 10. I'd like to speak on items 20, 25, and general public comment.
Okay, you go ahead. You have 2 minutes on your items and 1 minute for general public comment.
Yeah, so starting with items 20 and 25. These are rent relief items where a finite amount of money has been allocated for rental assistance. And I want to thank, the council for putting in some effort on this, but I don't see how this is going to be enough, or even how do you know how much we need for this, considering none of us really have any information about when we're going to have to start paying our rent again, and whether or not we're going to be protected until our respective jobs open up. We're hearing from the governor that we're beginning to reopen the state, but what does that mean? Does that mean that we have to pay rent again on June 1st? I work in a gym. When are those going to open back up? There's been no communication from you guys, and we're frustrated. Tenants are frustrated. You're hearing people call in and yell at you for a reason. We're stressed out, and it feels like you're not listening. We can call into these meetings, and, like Lydia said, it just feels like you ignore us. Earlier in the meeting, Councilman Koretz wasn't paying attention to the meeting. He was paying attention to his family.
It seems like we veered off topic a little bit, Speaker. Could you get back on 2025 or go to general public
Yeah,
comment?
sure. I'll get back on topic. No, I'll get back on topic. But the fact is, everything is up in the air. How can you allocate these tiny, finite sums to rental assistance and just say, that'll be enough? We need you to cancel rent. And you're not listening to us. We're going out and we're honking in front of your houses. We're calling in angry because you're not listening to us and you're not doing anything about it. And then I'll move on to my general public comment now.
Go ahead.
Like most other people, my general public comment is about the budget. I'm ashamed to admit that I really didn't dive much into the LA budget before this year. But as I have been diving in, it's a mess. It's created to intentionally confuse us. And I'm not an accountant, but it's not hard to go through and look at the changes between the same line year over year. And, the fact that we're consistently budgeting more for the LAPD, the fact that they're consistently overspending that budget anyway. And meanwhile, you can't get to things like rent cancellation. You can't find the money for that. It's really disappointing. And, I didn't call in to roast you guys today. I really wish that you would listen to us and help us out once in a while. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Please state name.
Yes, hello. My name is Drew Alo. I'm a homeowner in District 2. I'd like to speak in general comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I called in initially because I wanted to talk about how much of the transit budget goes towards parking enforcement, but I really just wanted to say now that the city council members, I can't imagine how difficult and stressful your jobs have become in this time. I know how stressed even I've been, and I don't even have the weight of the care of a city and its people on my shoulders. And I imagine listening to some of the things some of the people who have called in today have said have, been harsh at times and maybe not emboldened you to listen. I'm terrified to imagine that some of you are not listening right now, but I really hope you hear the message these people are saying. I really hope that you call for a budget committee meeting this week. Clearly, that's what your people want. We're your constituents. We're your neighbors. And I really hope you hear what all the people of the city are trying to get you to hear. Thank you very much.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hello, it's Eric Previn.
Good morning,
Can you hear
Mr. Previn. Yes, I can hear you. What items do you want to speak on?
Okay, I'd like to speak on items 16, 17, 15, 23, 14, etc., and the general public comment.
Do you have 3 minutes for all your items and 1 minute for general public comment? Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to be brief about it. First of all, I just want to go right at item number 17, which is a perky little request to get some conflicts waived between a bunch of law firms, if you can believe it, that we regularly do business with, who would also like to bring clients against us in various ways. So the short answer is no, thank you. And I appreciate the explanations, which are as infuriating as you can imagine. But we don't need more costly lawyering at our expense, okay? And I appreciate the idea that they think it's very efficient and helpful. It's not, and it's exactly the kind of thing that we talk about. Now, naming is so important, and I have to thank Bonin for coming up with a brilliant idea to name Pisani Way or whatever, Orson Bean, etc. But just to be absolutely clear, there's a limit to how much naming we appreciate. And today, over across the street at Board of Supervisors, Mark Ridley Thomas was self-naming the Behavioral Health Center at MLK, which could not be more infuriating, quite frankly, as people across the county are experiencing terrible crises of mental health, and nobody seems to be doing almost anything about it because, frankly, their hands are tied. And they, I don't know, there's a great disappointment with how things are going. You can hear it in the people who are commenting to you. And, you know, we are very concerned about how you bullied Mr. Weezar off of the desk, but he's been handing out favors to all of you for years. And, you know, I'm very
Mr.
concerned
Previn, I think you veered off topic. Would you get back on the agenda items?
Beg your pardon?
Would you please get back on the agenda items?
Yeah, I'm happy to get back on the agenda items. The Prop K RFP 10th cycle item, which is one of my least favorite subjects because it always results in the same DOE favorites getting the same gigs, which are often gigs like the attempt to build a giant building in our priceless open space in Studio City, which has been blocked temporarily due to funding concerns. But, you know, I think that for the general public comment, because I don't want to be pushed off of that, is that where we are now? Yes? Oh, okay, well, the general public comment is I would like to understand why people abstain at city council votes and why at county board of supervisors. Today, Barger abstained on two what seemed like important wage issues. And abstaining is not a no vote, okay? And when Krikorian and Price and Rue go through their little dance of occasionally abstaining because they happen to own property, it makes no sense because Gil Cedillo and the other guys, some of them rent property, so they are conflicted in that they're renters. We want our officials to take positions and to vote, not to abstain, okay? It is a political move that is not cool. It's very irksome. Now, are we going to do anything to get native plants, or are we just going to throw our hands up in the air and overbill people at the Fire Appeals Board? I mean, I'm ready for some smart landscaping in Los Angeles.
Mr. Previn, you want to move on to your general public comment, Mr. Previn?
Yeah, my general public comment is going to be about golf in the county and city, and in particular, the county, because we've heard that people are coming back to play
So
golf.
actually, Mr.
which
Previn, you
is-
already had your minute of general public comment. I think you're done.
No, I don't. I think that the chair is always right, Falbo, as you know.
No,
So
I think
please
I
sit
think you
down
had your minute.
and let me
Thanks,
continue
Mr. Previn.
without any further interruption. I just want to make sure that we are tabulating the appropriate sums that the private equity firm that took over the county golf is administrating. Because we've learned is that they are taking more than their due because they have a credit card program, which is so insidious and appalling. And how could it possibly be that the safety net of the LA County is engaged in actually making money? But nonetheless, that's what's been happening over there. And we want to make sure that it's happening 6 feet apart going forward. So with that, we do support getting out and playing a little golf at lower county rates so that people can actually participate and be outdoors.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
less-
Previn.
less-
Your
less
time is up,
appreciative
sir.
of
Thank
the,
you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Yes, hello. Good morning to President Nuri Martinez and City Council. My name is Jeremy Penn. I'm a volunteer and an organizer for Democratic Socialists of America, Los Angeles. I'm also a constituent and a small business owner living in Koreatown. I would like to speak on item number 25 and give a general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute for both. Go ahead.
Thank you. On item 25, the Emergency Rental Assistance Subsidy ERAS program is a step in the right direction in regards to thinking, but it still exacerbates an even larger problem. I urge you, please do not put this crisis on the backs of working families. We need to demand programs to support workers and families with rent and mortgage suspension, groceries and medical access that would actually provide relief. Otherwise, the debt burden still goes somewhere. And this is our chance to continue showing the world how to be humane and responsible by leading by example. Please just support the plans put forth by Healthy LA. We need care, not cops. We want services that help and strengthen our communities, especially during a pandemic, not more police to tear them apart. And
So I think,
that leads me to
Speaker,
my general public comment.
Thank you.
The Budget and Finance Committee should meet this week, and just give the community a chance to give meaningful input into this document, a document that is so crucial to the well-being of all Angelenos in the coming year, a year unlike any of us has ever experienced. And City Council should adopt the people's budget. It's by a coalition spearheaded by Dr. Melina Abdullah and the Black Lives Matter movement of Los Angeles. So let us find a way to provide support to the people who keep things running when this pandemic is at its worst and very well may be called upon to do so again. So I just want to thank you for your time and your leadership. That ends my comment.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Eric Kelly, public comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute. Go ahead.
You know, I just find it interesting that everyone calling in is demanding a people's budget, and not one person has called in to support the mayor's budget. Isn't that a little telling? I mean, we need to reject this mayor's proposed budget. To put it simply, the newest budget decreases funding for housing and community services, yet it increases funding for the LAPD. If that doesn't set you off, I don't know what does. The one good thing coming out of all this is people seeing firsthand that capitalism and corruption puts everything, you guys put everything over us, and you just want to expose yourselves to what you are. It's really sad. It's really sad. We need a people's budget, LA.
Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Paula Khan, and I work at Freedom for Immigrants. Today, I'm submitting a public comment, and I'm speaking in favor of a people's budget. I request that the City Council delay their vote on the budget and provide a process for community input on what the priorities should be for the budget. It is abominable to see such a drastic increase in the LAPD's budget. I was actually arrested myself in February for speaking out against two one citation and one arrest that happened on the LA Metro on February 16th. And I was speaking out against the implementation of Los Angeles Municipal Code 41.18, which makes it illegal for homeless people to sit, sleep, or lie on public sidewalks. I was arrested and I went to a police station and I saw how many unhoused people were being arrested on a Sunday afternoon while no one was there for civilian oversight. It is abominable for the city to be using taxpayer money and resources for the militarization of public space. I really advocate.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Kim Isaacs. I'm calling to make a public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
I'm also calling about a similar reason. I think that the City Council needs to have a people's budget and not a budget that is focused on cops. We're going through a pandemic, and even when we are not, we need a lot of services. The people need services that they are not getting. We want a budget that reflects our priorities and our needs. We want more services for unhoused Angelenos, including housing in the thousands of empty hotel rooms throughout the city, more mental health services, rent suspension and forgiveness for the 55% of Angelenos who are currently unemployed, more funding for public schools and resources to ensure all students, regardless of their situation, can continue learning during these uncertain times. We are going through a pandemic. The last thing that we need is for the police to have an increased budget. Our entire budget should not be mostly given to the police. It needs to be back to the people, and we should all have a say.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, Stephanie Hirsch. I'd like to make a general public comment, please.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hirsch. I'm a resident of CD5, calling today because LA needs a budget that reflects the needs of residents who are facing food and housing insecurity in the times of a global pandemic. This means we need a people's budget and care, not cops. The Budget Committee must meet this week and not allow a budget to pass on June 1st by lack of action after hearing overwhelming rejection voiced at this meeting and others to reject the mayor's budget that allocates 54% to the LAPD, the same LAPD that added the most entries into CalGAIN's secret database after reports of erroneous and falsified entries, of which the overwhelming majority of those targeted and profiled are people of color. This is only further evidence of the unchecked systemic bias and state-sanctioned violence against Black and Latinx folks in our city. This is nothing short of rewarding bad behavior by cops and funding police violence at the literal expense of the people and the very communities they terrorize. In addition, while the City Council and Mayor have failed to provide true rental relief, and while Project Room Key has yet to fulfill its promise.
Your time is up. Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Lex Roman, I'd like to give general public comment.
Go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Like others who have called in, I am astonished that City Council would wash their hands of this budget by saying they're just going to work on it throughout June. This is not a term paper. This is not a school project. This city has money that it could use to save lives. You need to act now. You need to call a meeting this week for the Budget Committee. Councilmember Krikorian, I live in your district. When I asked you about getting more supportive housing for our area, you complained it's too expensive. You know what's more expensive than supportive housing? Paying for LAPD, paying for LA sanitation to push people around our streets. You push people around into jails and into hospitals instead of investing in their well-being and the well-being of our community. Call a Budget Committee meeting this week. Read the people's budget proposal. Thousands weighed in on that. They will tell you what they want to see prioritized. Listen to your city and amend the budget.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
My name is Tandiwa Abdullah, and I like to participate in public comment. Similar to everyone else, what they've been saying about people's budget, I'd also like to extend my support of the people's budget. I'm a graduating high school senior, and I really just don't want to enter a community as I'm free to go out on my own, full of cops with more funding. We're in a time where, you know, we really need to be paying more attention to the health and wellness and just the holistic betterness of the communities. And we've seen with this quarantine that it does not stop police brutality. We've seen all over the nation cops brutally interacting with Black and brown folks in the community. And so we know that by increasing their budget, we are ultimately giving a slap to the face to Black folks, to poor folks, to houseless folks, to brown folks, to people of color, to disabled folks. What we should be doing is listening to People's Budget LA, to this coalition of people in organizations who are demanding wellness, who are demanding
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Pilar Chiavo, general public comment.
Go ahead, you have 1 minute.
So I'm a co-founder of West Valley Homes Yes, and also the moderator at the Congregational Church of Chatsworth, where we have a fish food pantry, which has gone from feeding about 130 people a week to over 1,000 people a week. We know that this is not sustainable. We're having a hard time getting needed food items, and we also outreach to the homeless who are desperately trying to get into Project Room Key. There are huge needs in our community right now that are not being addressed, and to give over half of the budget to policing when we know criminalization costs more than housing and services and food and supports is irresponsible, unconscionable, and really unbelievable. And we need a budget meeting this week. We need a people's budget. We're looking for John Lee and Krikorian to support this and make it happen this week.
Next speaker.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Hi, my name is Robert Pepe. I'm a 30-year-long homeowner in CD13 in the Silver Lake neighborhood. I'm one of Mitchell Farrell's constituents. Hello?
Yes, what item do you want to speak on?
Oh, general comment. I'm so sorry.
Okay, you have 1 minute.
I'd just like to say I'm really sorry that you people have to go through this, but, you know, to have to be instituting Garcetti's Banana Republic budget must feel terrible. I mean, basically, this is a budget that Augusto Pinochet or Fernando Marcos would have had. This budget proves that you and Garcetti view the poor, working class, and Black and brown people as disposable, throwaways. This budget is classist and racist. A humane budget during this pandemic and Great Depression would not allocate 50% of it to a murderous, ill-trained paramilitary police force in the city of the United States that has the largest municipal jail population. Slash multimillionaire Santa Clarita resident Michael Moore's budget by 2/3. A genius like him should be able to figure out how to run the LAPD on $1 billion a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on. Please state your name and what item you'd like to speak on.
Justin Ricafort, general public comment.
Okay, you have 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'd like to be a part of the collective voice here that the proposed budget for LAPD to be increased is just irresponsible and dangerous. I'm a constituent of Boyle Heights of City Council District 14, and we've recently had a brutalization of an unhoused person by LAPD. So it seems it seems pretty ridiculous that we would fund a program with little oversight, and we are the oversight. We are the people. We need to be listened to. I'm feeling increasingly unsafe living in Los Angeles, and we need to align by the values of the people and what we need, especially in a global pandemic. We needed to do it yesterday. Thank you.
Members, that concludes speakers for today's agenda. Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and vote on some items.
Madam President, items 1 through 13, 15 through 17, 19 through 25 are available for council to vote on.
Okay, let's go ahead and call the roll.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonnet.
Bonnet, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Rue.
Aye.
Wesson.
Wesson, aye.
14 ayes, these items are adopted.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move on to item 14. This was called special by Mr. Blumenfield. He's already submitted his amending motion. Mr. Blumenfield, would you like to speak on this item?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
Just to clarify, the reason I'm doing this clarifying amendment is because the original report back made it seem as if sanitation might need additional funding to enforce this measure. I don't want to be asking for additional funds during this economic crisis. Consequently, I want to be solely focused on the enhancing penalties for the littering of PPE. And the reason why littering one's gloves and masks is particularly pernicious is because people are dropping these items on the ground because they believe they might be contaminated. This littering is not only disrespectful of others, it is dangerous to others, especially the workers who end up cleaning up the contaminated items. So during this pandemic, I think it makes good sense that we enhance the penalties and we make a strong statement that it is unacceptable to throw your gloves and masks willy-nilly on the ground. So I ask for your aye vote for the amendment as written so it can be focused. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Farrell.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield, for this motion. Happy to second it. And Madam President, you and I authored a similar motion a week before, and so I think the two are a great companion moving forward. Just in general, we saw almost immediately the effects of discarded masks and gloves, just even in my own neighborhood, as early as mid-March, when people started self-isolating and utilizing personal PPE for themselves. We began to see this trash from these gloves and masks, et cetera, all over the ground, in the gutters. They're littering our parks. They're everywhere. And I think that it speaks to the need for an educational piece as much as anything else. And it also, unfortunately, speaks to a really collective lack of respect for one another in public. I mean, I just would urge that folks, anytime you throw any piece of trash on the ground, much less something that's possibly contaminated, just realize the level of disrespect that is for others in the general public. I mean, I come from the school of thought of Keep America Beautiful, way back in the old days when there was a push to keep our streets cleaner and freer of pollution and garbage and trash. So I think it's a real opportunity for the city to, I think, share the importance of keeping our neighborhoods cleaner and how that really lessens blight, which everyone can contribute to, or everyone can contribute to fight against blight. So I would hope that this is an opportunity for us as Angelenos to show and demonstrate the importance of keeping our neighborhoods cleaner in general. And I know that many of our offices, mine included, we've put out upwards of 1,000 trash receptacles since I've been in office in neighborhoods across the district. So it's not as though there aren't ample places for people to discard this stuff or have the ability to discard it once they return home, or just carry a little bag with them to discard their trash. We all have a personal responsibility to keep our neighborhoods cleaner, and then by virtue of these motions, safer as well. So I commend everyone, and you, Mr. Blumenfield, who is on this, wanting to make all of our neighborhoods cleaner and safer. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other members on the queue, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote on item 14 as amended.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Yes.
Cedillo.
Aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Koretz.
Yes.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rodriguez. Rue.
Aye.
Wesson. Councilmember Wesson.
Wesson, aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted as amended.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move on to item 18. This was called special by Mr. Bonin for a technical amendment. Mr. Bonin, would
just
you
for
like
a
to speak
technical
on
amendment
this?
and the substitute resolution. So I'd ask for an aye vote as amended.
All right, let's go ahead and prepare to vote on this item.
Blumenfield.
Blumenfield, aye.
Bonin.
Bonin, aye.
Buscaino.
Aye.
Cedillo.
Cedillo, aye.
Harris Dawson.
Yes.
Koretz.
Aye.
Krikorian.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Martinez.
Aye.
O'Farrell.
Aye.
Price.
Aye.
Rodriguez. Rue.
Aye.
Wesson.
Aye.
14 ayes, this item is adopted as amended.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to verbal motions. Any members wishing to introduce any verbal motions at this time? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, do you have any of them to read into the record?
No, Madam President, we do not have any verbal motions to
All right.
read into the record.
All right, so what's before us now?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred members, are there any announcements? Okay, seeing none, are there any adjourning motions? Seeing none either, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.